written by a dear friend, Steve Dunlap. It's entitled Holy Eyes. And I searched high and low for the lyrics. It's such a rare song as my friend Steve. I couldn't be found. So I'm going to do it I can remember by heart the first line, but I couldn't remember the second verse. So I'm just going to repeat the first verse again. It'll be somewhat of a praise and worship song. Holy Eyes by Steve Dunlap. As your holy eyes look down at me, a lonely sinner though I be, please, please, Lord, look through me and see a part that wants to be free from sin and holy thines. Catch your spirit, Lord, and truly shine. And if you think that there's a way, let your holy eyes teach me to pray. Holy eyes, shine through me, so I will always, I'll always be a light that shines in a world so dark and cold. Holy eyes, shine through me, so I will always, I'll always see your holy love proved upon that hill at Calvary. As your holy eyes look down at me, a lonely sinner though I be, please, please, Lord, look through me and see a part that wants to be free from sin and holy lines. Catch your spirit, Lord, and truly shine. And if you think that there's a way, let your holy eyes teach me to pray. Holy eyes, shine through me, so I will always, I'll always be a light that shines in a world so dark and cold. Holy eyes, shine through me, so I will always, I'll always see your holy love you proved upon that hill at Calvary. Holy eyes, shine through me, so I will always, I'll always see your holy love you proved upon that hill at Calvary. I remember when Steve was starting that song, he was learning the bass, and he would say, he'd ask for apologies. So it kind of reminds me, I don't deserve to be mentioned in the same breath as Steve Dunlap. He was just such a wonderful man. I almost considered him as a father. So I just thank him for those lyrics. Such a wonderful song, what a wonderful man. The title of my sermon is Holy Eyes. Let's pray. Lord, thank you so much that you see the inside of our hearts. You don't look on the outside. May your holy eyes train us to see things as you see them. In Jesus' name, amen. How many of you have heard the term WYSIWYG? Has anyone heard WYSIWYG? Does anyone know what WYSIWYG is? Do you all know what WYSIWYG is? The origins? WYSIWYG. WYSIWYG is, here's the acronym, WYSIWYG. What you see, what you see, can you finish it? What you see is what you get. All right. So I learned in word processing when they were doing the technology, when they were, kids, we actually used to have a typewriter. It was called a typewriter, and you had to punch on keys, and it was truly what you see is what you got, because when you hit the key, it hit and it printed it right there. There's no erasing it, going back. I did half of my college career I did on the typewriter before I got a $2,000 386 computer, which is with the printer and the monitor that grandma helped me buy for $2,000. It was probably the cost of a car back then. It was not quite, but it was expensive. Now I can get the same technology right here. But what you see is what you get, is the terminology. There is, in the 90s, there were these austereograms. Now, you probably I don't know if you remember these, but there are these posters that when you looked at them, images would pop out in 3D. Does anyone remember that from the 90s? It'd be like flat, and you had no idea, but in order to, if you looked at it intently enough, you could look at it, and the images would have a 3D origin to them. You could look at them. And thank you to Gina for showing us this, because this is a great illustration. So I want to ask this congregation, how many people say that in the center is a smiley face? Can I see a show of hands? That's a smiley face, right? That's a smiley face. A show of hands? Who votes on that being a smiley face? All right. Maybe I don't have the right angle. How about on this side, who sees this as a frown? I have a vote for a frown. That was much more distinct. So maybe it's just not clear. It's an angle of what you see. So if you go on the right at a certain angle, it's a smiley face. But then if you go to the left, on the left is a smiley face, but on the right, it's a frown. So it's a matter of perspective of how you look at things, just like the austereogram. With this austereogram, for me to see the image, there was a trick to it, because you couldn't always pop out and see it right away. So I would stare at my nose and then look at the image. I'd go cross-eyed. I'd make myself go cross-eyed, and then I'd focus, and then I would see the image would somehow pop out, and I could see the 3D image. You don't have to go cross-eyed here, so don't go. You could just come out, and I see a brother, he's looking, he's like, oh yeah, he's got these different images, and just all a matter of perspective. And Gina she's such a great artist. She showed how it looks like it's a continuous circle, but if you look real close, there's some disjointedness in these three images here. Like the circle, it looks like that's a complete circle, but it doesn't match up right. Your eyes are tricked to think it's a complete circle, but it actually doesn't match up when you look at it. The same thing on these other images. If you follow it, it's somehow off. But from a distance, it looks just fine. It looks just fine. On the bottom right, if you're looking at it from one side, it's 4 bars. But if you look at the top, you can probably see this better. It's actually 3. Why? Which is it, 4 or 3? Perspective, right? How you look at things. That's kind of what I'm going into. What you see is not what you get. I started thinking about this because I thought, thanks for the picture. I found a good one, Dave. And I want to thank our audiovisual folks too before I forget. They do a lot to help us out. And I also need to thank Pastor Jorge. I'm not the pastor of this church. Pastor Jorge is the pastor of this church. Please pray for him. He's not feeling well, and tomorrow he's scheduled to preach about the Sabbath for the church that rents here on Sunday. They're interested in learning about the Sabbath. So if he doesn't make it, then we're planning on a panel, which is likely, it sounds like he won't make it. Then Dave and I and others, I believe, are serving on a panel to discuss the Sabbath. Perspective. But I was thinking, so Samson, when we look at Samson's life, a lot of times we just think about the abject failure as a judge. Yet, when you look at Hebrews 11, he's listed as a hero of faith. This imperfect man, you look at his whole life, you have a record of his entire life, and yet he's listed as a hero of faith. I could spend an entire sermon on just that subject, just on Samson. But I just thought about it, and I realized, as much as we have a record of Samson, this is where I might step on your toes, this is where I get you. how sometimes we look at others in a certain way. And we judge. I could do everything right up till today, but as soon as I do something wrong, it could be possibly, I could be judged for that instance. I could be judged for that, and it be clouded as much good as I could do. And you don't know me, except the only one that knows me as best is my family and close friends. But you have just a snippet, and you might make that judgment call. Here we have an entire record of Samson, and we make this judgment, oh yeah, what a mess up. And yet he's listed as a hero of faith. So what lens do we use when we're looking at other people? What are we using to characterize, to judge other people, was where I thought might be worth exploring. What lens do you have on when you're looking at other people? What do holy eyes see? So holy eyes recognize God. I love that hymn, Great is Thy Faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, Thy hand hath provided. Great is Thy faithfulness. Recognizing God is what holy eyes see. So you can recognize when characters or people in the Bible are at their high. There are two people that went on this earth that went to heaven. Who are they? Two people that are known to have gone to heaven, and they didn't pass away. Enoch, right? You say Enoch? They both start with E. Enoch and who else? Elijah, right? So Enoch was just walking one day, and he just kept walking. God loved him so much, he just kept on walking, probably right into heaven. He must have, can you imagine that walking? Like, whoa, I must have took a turn somewhere. He's in there in the presence of God. He was walking. His walk was that tight with God. That was his guy. That was his BFF. He literally became the BFF right there. And then Elijah, a servant, right? How did he go up? Much more dramatic, not as quietly. He got taken in a chariot of fire. Imagine seeing that. Those highs. So we recognize, holy eyes can recognize those highs. And then you can have like the in-between. People like David. Sometimes he got it right, sometimes he got it wrong. People like Moses. How about the guy that was known as Saul of Tarsus? And then who did he become? He became Paul the Apostle. So we can recognize those guys that are kind of in the medium, the holy eyes. It's people that are walking in the medium. The highs and the lows, the medium people. But then you have the low life, I shouldn't say low life, but the low spectrum, the Samsons, hero of faith. You know, look at that life of Samson. He was just a womanizer, you name it, right? He was a womanizer, he drank, he did everything you weren't supposed to do. And yet here he was, the hero of faith. You know, the point I'd like to make from this is to understand that we're all human. Whether you're at your highs or lows, we're all human, and we make mistakes. Leaders will make mistakes. I, for sure, make mistakes. I made one this morning with my wife. We got into a discussion, I'll say nicely discussion, before I got up here. And then I thought, I'll lay it out there. And I was wrong. And I said, I can't go up there without, because how am I going to preach to you all? And then my own wife says, yeah, that's not him. She sees that, right? Holy eyes recognize that we make mistakes. And brace yourself, your pastor is human too. Your pastor will make mistakes too. People in the conference level, they'll make mistakes. People much higher, they'll make mistakes. The key is understanding that it's not the people we're looking at. It's recognizing God and having mercy. Great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Holy eyes recognize the need for one another. So I need my family. I need other people. When I'm working, I need other people as part of the team. I don't get any credit for anything I do except for working with other people that make me look good, that help me do what I do. I work at the Training Doctrine Command as an acquisition management specialist, part of the team, and we help with the contracts that we do in the government. So nothing works independently. It all works together. I saw it last week was it last week? Two Sabbaths ago? 2 Sabbaths ago. The health fair. The health fair that Dr. Ryan helped organize, and several people I recognize helped out with the health fair. Just seeing the holy eyes that recognize other people that have need. If you've got health insurance, that's wonderful, but there's some people that are without. And so they have a need. They come to the church to find a need. Dr. Ryan and I are part of the team that are part of a church plant. And one thing that I've learned about church, this might hurt your feelings, church is not for you. Church is for others. Church is supposed to be about others. But we get to where we are like we're buying a ticket to a movie. Who's preaching today? Oh, it's not the pastor. I guess I'll take this Sabbath off. That's okay with me. Hey, if you got other things you want to do, I don't take any offense to it. I'm not a great speaker. I acknowledge I don't have the greatest sermons and messages, not like Pastor Jorge. He hits the nail at the hammer every single time I hear Pastor Jorge. And apologies to anyone that hasn't heard him before. Come next week. There you go. There's a little encouragement for you to keep coming. But I've learned that church isn't for us to just sit in here like we're in the movie theater. It's supposed to be about other people. So if we're reaching others and we're just comfortable with what we want to see, is that the point of it? Should we be in a little bit of discomfort where we're trying to reach for other people? Is it going to make you a little uncomfortable reaching out for other people? Church is for others. And at 4136 Holland Road, that's this address. This is just the church. Church is not this time, this worship hour. This is not church. Church is discipleship. Church is reaching out to other people. Church is giving of our talents so that we can serve the Lord, whether it be. Now, some of these are more obvious up front, and some are less obvious. And encouraging other people, things that you do at home, things that you do for other people or for your coworkers. Those are the things that make up church, using our talents and sowing. You know, the Bible talks about sowing, putting down seed for people to learn about Christ. And some of the seed will fall on good soil. Someone will go on the rocks. And some of it will grow and keep on growing. And some of it will grow for a little bit and die. So we pray for the Lord to open our hearts. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. I want to see you. High and lifted up. High and lifted up. Open the eyes of my heart. The holy eyes recognize the need that we could see in other people. Holy eyes recognize the need for forgiveness. Sin is glaucoma. Is there a slide in there? Is there a slide in there for WYSIWYG and then WYSI? Could you go to that one? So what you see is what you get, is what I mentioned. And what you see is not what you get, is the title of my sermon. And then something very distinct popped out in my mind in the center. Right in the middle of what you see and what you get, sin. Sin is glaucoma. We look at thank you, Dave. If you could go now to our Luke 18, yes, the parable of the Pharisee and the tax collector. Luke 18 is filled with a lot of stories. And in fact, the Bible then would be filled with lots of stories of this. What you see is not what you get. Here we have the tax collector. To some who were confident of their own righteousness and looked down on everyone else, Jesus told this parable. 2 men went up to the temple to pray. One a Pharisee, the other a tax collector. The Pharisee stood by himself and prayed, God, I thank you that I am not like other people, robbers, evildoers, adulterers, or even like the tax collector. So here he is boasting of what he can see. I'm not like the other people. I don't rob people. I'm not an evildoer, an adulterer. I'm not anywhere on this list, especially those dreaded tax collectors. Boy, the IRS, they really have been, since the ever beginning, no one's a big fan of the IRS, right? Not even the Bible's a fan of the IRS. If you work for the IRS, we'll pray for you after. Not like the tax collector. I fast. How many times? Twice a week, not just once a week. I fast twice a week. And I tithe. I give 1/10 of all I get. That's me. That's just how I am. But the tax collector stood at a distance, would not even look up to heaven, but beat his breast and said, God, have mercy on me, a sinner. I tell you, the Lord said, that this man, rather than the other, went home justified before God. For all those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and to those who humble themselves will be exalted. So the lesson there is, when you look, I can look the part. I can look the part up here. It's easy. You know, when you have a talent, it's easy to look the part. But then at home and elsewhere, you don't fit the part. I'm guilty. There's times I don't fit the part, and I have to ask for forgiveness. Just like this morning, I have to ask for forgiveness for how I behave. So what you see is not what you get. What you saw was this guy that followed all the rules, does everything right, goes fast how many times a week? Not once, but twice. And he does what? He gives how much? 1/10. He gives the 10th, right? He does everything you're required. And that the person that says, I'm nothing like that guy, Lord, I am so sorry. Be merciful upon me. And God says that's the humble person. That's the person I see, he says. I see that person. I don't see the one beating his chest boastful. I see the one beating himself up because he realizes his humility before God. That's a powerful story that he gives to us. There's other, what you see is not what you get in just chapter 18. Verses 1 through 6 tell us the parable of the widow. And in this parable of the widow is asking the judge, she keeps saying to the judge, hey, I need you to take care of this. I need you to take care of this. And the judge is like, okay. And he keeps putting her off. Finally, he gets over it and he said, okay, we'll deal with it. We'll deal with the person that's wronged you. And then Christ says, you know, as much as you have that human person that is you're looking to the judge, I am the righteous judge. He said, I do that. Don't trust on the human person to make that judgment. I'll take care of that. And then, by the way, when I judge that person, how are you going to look in the situation? That's the parable of the persistent widow. It's like, where is your walk? He's asking. So don't be so concerned about the injustice focused on you, what you've endured. What about the other person, and where are you in your walk with God? The little children in Jesus. So on the surface, Luke 18:15 through 17, and this is in other Gospels. This is a short bit. But Christ says the kids are trying to get near Jesus. Kids need Jesus too? The kids need Jesus? Amen. Kids need Jesus too. And suffer not the children to come unto me. Of such is the kingdom of heaven. So on the surface, it looks like, this is this little brat. These kids, they're getting in the way of the real business we need to do. And Christ is saying, hold on. That's what the kingdom of heaven is like. Coming to the kingdom as innocent as a child. What you see is someone that's just trying to vie for attention. I see a child of God vying for attention because they recognize me as the Son of Man, the Son of God. The rich young ruler is found in Luke. This is just rich with stories. The young ruler. And this story, it's the same as the publican saying, hey, I follow all the rules, right? In fact, that's a real story, though. The other is a parable. This is a real story where the young ruler meets Christ, and he says, what must I do? What else? I do it all. Same way. I can say, I'm not a robber, I'm not an adulterer, I pay my taxes, I give 1/10. I do everything right, Lord. I've done it all. And what does Christ tell the young ruler to do? He tells him, give everything you have away. And that vexed the young ruler, because he had a lot. He had the Mercedes, he had the Bugatti, he had, well, you name it. He had the mansion, he had everything. And Christ said, give it all away and follow me. And he walked away. So he perceived that he was doing everything right, but he wasn't ready to give everything. Not completely surrender. And that was what Christ was looking for him to do. And then the literal story of what you see is not what you get is the blind beggar. So he's blind, he's asking for help, and the people, he's like, what's all the clamoring about? And they said, Jesus is coming by. And the beggar said, Son of David, have mercy on me. He kept crying, Son of David, have mercy on me. And amidst the crowd and the noise, this beggar is just asking for help. And he hears it. Christ hears his cry. He asks him, what do you want? And he said, I want to receive my sight. And Christ says, then receive your sight. It just looks like a guy, it's just another guy that needs help. Push him aside. This is the one that was asking for mercy. That's the one Christ stops to help. It's the person realizing, I need mercy, Lord. Help me. And Christ answers his plea and performs a miracle that we read about in the Bible. Now, this is the ultimate story. Jesus, who's with Christ the whole time? His disciples. And he's teaching them the entire time about him and what's happening and what's right and what's wrong. He's telling parables, he's using miracles, he's doing everything. And he explains to them that he's going to be crucified. How many times has he done it? At least this is how many times? The third time. But that's not what they wanted to see. That's not what they wanted to get. They wanted the Son of Man to be high and lifted up on the earth. Take over right now. And Christ, that wasn't his ambition. That wasn't his plan. His plan was eternal, to come back for you and I, to come back for us. It was not an earthly throne. It was the heavenly throne. So it stands out that even though the disciples were with him all the time, they were unable to see with holy eyes. They could not, what they saw was not what they wanted to get. So how do we see through God's eyes? I would say that you need to study the life of Christ. When you look in the mirror, like, what do you see? I know when I look at the mirror, most of my hair, it's starting to go gray. It's starting to go. I'm not coloring it, right? But when I look in the mirror, it's fine. I don't have any gray up front. But I know back here is a crown of gray back here. And it hit me because I posted something on Facebook, and a friend of mine, she goes, is that gray hair on the top of your head? And I didn't see it. I didn't know until I saw it on screen. I was like, wow, it really is predominant. Because I don't see that top of it. Like, aren't you going to color it? Like, no, I'm just going to let it go at this point. But when I see in the mirror, it's just fine. But what's behind me, well, it's aging. I look young to me, but back here is a different sign. I've got a crown of gray working back here. So that how you see things in the mirror, what the focus is Christ. You're studying the life of Christ. Like, who is your neighbor? I learned in COVID, I questioned myself who my neighbor was. When COVID was happening, I was riding my bike around, meeting other people, and introducing myself to them, and I truly understood that's my neighbor. Asking about them, seeing if they wanted for me to pray for them, ask them if they had any needs, and that was just bike ministry going around. God sees through unconditional love. So when we study the life of Christ, we see him as our great example. We need to pray daily. We're praying daily. So in your daily prayers, ask God to help you see as he sees things. We should show more compassion. That's what's great about having these opportunities to minister at health fair, is to see people that have a need. And these are people that came, Doc, the night before, 12:30, camping out to get help. Like the young man, Son of God, have mercy on me. These are people asking for mercy, needing compassion. We need to strive to be kinder and loving toward people and forgiving. And don't focus on the outside appearance. Remember that when Samuel was looking for the next king of Israel, it says in Samuel 16:7, the Lord said, "Look not on his countenance," when he was talking about David, "look not on his countenance or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth. For man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart." And that's what he sees when he sees the publican versus the tax collector. There's a song called In Heaven's Eyes, and I love the lyrics. It's a Sandy Patty song for those of us that remember it. And the lyrics are, "A fervent prayer rose up to heaven. A fragile soul was losing ground. And sorting through this earthly babble, heaven heard the sound. It was a life of no distinction, no successes, only tries. But gazing down on this unlovely one, there was love in heaven's eyes. In heaven's eyes, there are no losers. In heaven's eyes, there's no hopeless cause. There's only people like you with feelings like me, amazed by the grace that we can find in heaven's eyes." I just love the power of those lyrics of how we can see things in heaven's eyes. What you see is not what you get. Samuel was instructed specifically not to look on the outward appearance. So remember, before him was Saul. And how was Saul described? He was described as handsome, taller than all the rest. He had all the looks, and he started out humbly. Saul started out humbly. But eventually, he must have got power-driven. Saul boasted of himself, probably much like the publican, saying, "Yes, I can do these things. I can do it. It's follow me." And somehow he lost sight. So when it came down for Saul to be taken away from leadership, to be no longer king of Israel, Samuel was sent to look for the next king. The people chose Saul, and they saw the handsome man taller than all the rest. So when Samuel's looking out, he's probably thinking, well, that's the checklist. That's who I need to be looking for. And God said, no, that's not who we're looking for. I'm looking for someone that doesn't look kingly. And what does he say when he's looking for? He's looking for the man after God's own heart. David was called the man after God's own heart. And remember, he's the middle. He's the faulted one. He's the one that's made so many mistakes. So many mistakes. Yet of his lineage is Christ himself. Son of David, have mercy on me. Of his lineage, David the shepherd. David, the man after God's own heart. Now, we can't see. Samuel thought he could see, and he couldn't see. He went through all the other brothers, and finally he's like, tell Jesse, hey, do you have anybody else? Who am I missing? I know that we're supposed to find a king, and your sons. He says, oh, yeah, David, he's out there tending sheep. Don't worry about David. He's got the sheep. And that's the one he chose. The one that didn't look the part. Do you look the part? You ever watch those home garden television when they do a house, right? They redo it, and they completely can change it, transform it, and then sometimes they'll hide it, and then they'll do the big reveal. It's the same house, right? But they've changed it, right? It's been altered. It's been improved upon. Now, sometimes I think we go through that in our life. When I was telling you about those stereograms, the 3D images, and how I would go cross-eyed, sometimes we need to see the cross. Sometimes you need to go cross-eyed. to see Christ. There's that amazement when you're looking at an image, those 3D images, and you realize it was there all along. Now, I'm going to tell you, when I was grown up Adventist, I didn't have a clear understanding of what we were teaching. So I thought Catholics were evil. No one ever really told me that, but I had in my mind that they were evil. They were wrong and we were right. I think it was at 81 when the Pope was shot. 1980. He got shot. And I was with my friend. We were guests. We were coming back from Okinawa, Japan. Our family had just come back in the faith from our time in Japan. Mom had strayed away. We went to Japan to live for 3 years, and that time is what brought us back into church. So that was my span of time while I was indoctrinated and taught. Some, of course, great things, but in my mind, misguided things. And I thought Catholics were wrong, we were right, and they were evil. So when I saw that the Pope was shot, forgive me, and the host of the family that's Catholic taking us in until we could get our own home, I said, that's good. I said it was good that the Pope got shot. Can you believe that? Why would my young mind, 10 years old, say that it was good? Because I had this misconception that they were evil. He turned to me, and I think he probably still hurts his heart. He said, why would you say that? Why would you say that's good he got shot? And it just came out of my mouth. I kind of wondered myself, why did I say that? Because I'd been indoctrinated into our beliefs and just had skewed my mind into what made sense. That doesn't even make sense now when you think about that. Why would I wish that? Same thing in our lives when we look at others that aren't like us. The church that rents from us. They don't worship on Sabbath. They worship on Sunday. And yet some people look at that and say, well, they're not us, so they can't be right. Look at Mark 9, 38 through 40. Mark 9, 38 through 40 says, "Teacher," said John, "we saw someone driving out demons in your name, and we told him to stop because he was not one of us." "Do not stop him," Jesus said, "for no one who does a miracle in my name can in the next moment say anything bad about me. For whoever is not against us is for us. Truly I tell you, anyone who gives a cup of water in my name because you belong to the Messiah will certainly not lose their reward." They're not like us. They're not worshiping on the Sabbath. Can anything good come out of a church that preaches on Sunday? I'm astonished by how I said it when I said it was good that the Pope got shot. Now I see differently. And I hope that we can see differently too when we look at others that don't believe like us. And take a moment back. I was off. And sometimes we're just off. And if we ruffle feathers sometimes, and what we say sometimes, we get ruffled. And sometimes I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong in anything I've said and you'd like to talk, come talk to me, please. I'd like to talk. We have an opportunity tomorrow to minister to folks that are learning about the Sabbath. And it's not a perfect process. They are discovering, thankfully, about the Sabbath. And will they get 100% right tomorrow when Jorge preaches, or when on the panel, maybe I'm on a panel with Dave? I don't know. Maybe. But I can tell you that they've prepared their hearts for it. They've been studying for the last 8 weeks on the Sabbath. Their pastor, Pastor Gary Spell, a few weeks ago said, "I want you to fast over this. I want you to pray about this. I want you to fast." And he explained fasting to them. He's given them steps toward Christ. in understanding the Sabbath. And I'm just thankful for the friendship that we've had with them. We need to see things with holy eyes, and to see that we also need to, I'm going to invite the praise team to come up. We have that perspective of seeing that the Lord is good. Tony said it. God is good all the time. God is good. The goodness of God. So what you see is not what you get. It's not what you get. You can't see it. It only comes with holy eyes. It only can come through holy eyes. And sometimes it's through your experience also, where we see the Lord working. So I'm going to ask you to stand up. Stand with me and pray. Again, if I've touched upon a feeling, upset anybody, then please do talk to me. I sincerely, I was hesitant as to how much I should say. And I pray I've said the right things, that they were holy in God's sight, and not just words coming out of my mouth. Lord, all our lives you've been faithful. All of our lives you've been so, so good. So if you've done that for us, and certainly you do that for others as well. Help us to see the world not as just we want to see it. Help us to see that church is not just for us. In fact, it should be them, others at the forefront. You first, others, and then us, and not in reverse. From the left side, we can see someone smiling. And from the right side, we might see someone in despair. But from above, you see all things, because you are God and we're not. So thank you for being God, and please continue to be God in our lives. In Jesus' name, amen.
All my life you have been faithful.
Lord, thank you for being so good. You are awesome all the time. So we look forward to that day when we see you face to face. Thank you for your many blessings. Bless this congregation now until we see each other again. In Jesus' name, amen. God loves you and he has a wonderful plan for your life.